Morning, guys. How are you? Good morning, everybody. I hope you're doing well and
Morning, sir.
you are very well, guys, and in a good health. Okay, let's get started. Bismillah. Homework for me. The homework was question number, we did example 2. The homework was what? Checkpoint 2?
Checkpoint 3, no, checkpoint
And
3 and 4.
checkpoint. Yes.
2 and 3, right?
No, 3 and 4.
3 and
We
4.
solved 2 yesterday.
Yeah, I said 3 or 4. Yes, let me check point number 3.
Sir, but we solve it not in this way, the way you teach us before.
Okay, no problem. Anyway, and I'm gonna solve it by using the way that I taught you before, which is using what the ratio and a plus b and a minus b, and so on.
Yeah.
Okay. So you don't want guys to solve it by this way. I will leave the table. We can confirm our answer by this table. Okay.
Okay.
We'll move quickly, guys, to checkpoint number 3. Checkpoint number 3. See here, graph the polar equation. Graph the polar equation. R equals 1 minus 2 sine theta. Okay. Okay, so there, yalla, start. What's the first? What kind of equation you have? The graph should be what? Limison.
Limissons, yes. And if we make A over B equal 1 over 2 inner loop. So Limissons inner loop.
Limison is what?
Inner loop.
Why?
Because A over B equal 1 over 2.
1 over 2, which is less than 1.
1.
Ratio B and B less than 1. We said it's what? Inner what loop? Excellent. And because it's the inner loop, yes? Because it's
Yes,
inner loop.
and our major axis is the y-axis.
Yes,
because it's sine.
Our main axis here is your what?
Y-axis.
Y-axis, right? Because it's a side.
Yes.
And the direction.
What?
The direction of the inner loop, the loop, or the graph wall will be above or below the x-axis.
Below.
Below the x-axis, since we have negative here.
Negative, yes. And now A plus B equal 1 plus 2 equal 3.
1 plus 2 equals 3.
And A minus B equal 1 minus 2 equal negative 1.
Minus 2 equals negative 1.
Yes, and A is 1.
A is 1.
Yes.
Yes, let's move back here quickly and bring here the table that I wrote about the Limison. Here is it? No, here's the Limison, guys. Steps. We said A plus B, the height or stretches on the main axis. A stretches on the opposite axis, and A minus B lower point. Okay. So let's graph quickly. Checkpoint number 3. Checkpoint number 3. You can homework. Checkpoint number 3. Yes. And then we're gonna graph here. Right. On this graph, we have to move what, Muhammad? We said that A plus B is 3.
Yes. So 3 on the x-axis.
On the x-axis, here like this. On the y-axis.
Y-axis.
2, 3.
3. Yes. And we have A equal 1.
We have A is
so
1.
It's in the opposite axis. So in the x-axis.
We have to do first the negative 1. Negative 1 represents stretches in the opposite direction, right?
So yes.
So means 1 here and 1 here, right?
Yeah.
And the loop is the lower point.
Negative 1.
Is 1. So here, like this one.
Yes.
And I put 1 here and 1 here. See here, right?
No. Yes. Up.
Yeah,
Now.
connect to the points.
Yeah.
How to connect to the points? You have to make a graph like this one. The loop is inside. You have the loop inside. So what? You have to connect your what? You have to connect it like this. see, guys, we have a graph like this up here, and then we move from the center and passing through this point back again to what? To the center, and then here, like this. But this part
Yes,
was
sir. Isn't it negative part of the y-axis?
negative 1.
Negative or positive part of the y-axis?
You have to pass through the center and then connect.
I think it is on the negative part of the y-axis, right? Yes, Mr. What part of the y-axis will you take, the positive or negative part?
Yes, we said it's in the negative part of the y-axis, but we do it in
Yeah.
the positive. Yes, yes. So it's down here.
Yes, yes.
Sorry. So the point, we're gonna change the points because it's below. So the first point we said it's a 3. We're gonna move 1, 2, 3, right? And the one right, and also one left. And your inner loop will be here, right? Yes. Connect
Yes.
the points. Yes. Yes, we have to do this one. We have to move
Yes.
to the center and then moving to the point.
We must move in the x on the 0, 0, yeah, the point 0.
Yes, and 0, 0.
Okay.
On the forward,
Okay.
0, 0. Yeah, let's confirm here this graph by the table, by the regular way. We have this equation r equals 1 minus 2 sine theta. I'm going to use here 0 and all multiples of pi over 6. So if we substitute 0 for theta, 1 minus 2 sine 0. Sine 0, what? 0, right? So it's a 0 and 1 because it's going to be 1 minus 0 gives 1. This is in case of what? It's a 0. Okay, when it's pi over 6, it's going to be 1 minus 2 sine pi over 6. You have to calculate it, which is 1 minus 2 sine 30 is half, right? Sine 30 is what? Is half.
Half.
So 1 minus 1 now equals
0.
Pi over 3. 1 minus 2 sine
6.
pi over 3. You have to do it, guys, quickly. 1 minus 2 radical 3 over 2.
2.
Plus out 1 minus radical 3 by decimal, right? Pi over 2.
Yes.
1 minus 2 sine pi over 2.
Oh,
Calculate
yes.
this one, guys, as decimal. So 1 minus sine 90 or sine pi over 2. Sine pi over 2, which is sine 90, which is 1. Okay, so it's a negative 1 now. Okay, 2 pi over 3, and so on. 2 pi over 3 and what value, guys? 1 minus 2 sine 2 pi over 3. I don't have a calculator here, so tell me what's the value. 2 pi over 3. Where is 2 pi over 3? It's here. Same as pi over 6. It's half, right?
1, 2.
And it's going to be positive, so your answer is 0 again. And then 5 pi over 6, which is sine 5 pi over 6. What's the answer? Then we have got the problem. Okay, what's the answer, guys? 1 minus 2 sine 5 pi over 6. We have 1 minus, here is 2 sine 5 pi over 6, which is, where is sine 5? Where is 5 pi over 6? 5 pi over 6 is here. Like this one here. Sine 5 pi over 6. 1 minus 2 sine 5 pi over 6. 1 minus 2. Hey guys, what's the answer? I think it's the same as pi over
9 5 pi over x equal 1 over 2. No, the
yeah,
equal 1 minus 1 also 0.
0, right?
Yes.
0, 0. طب احسب 2 pi over 3. I don't think so. That it's
Sine 2 pi over 3, 1 minute. Okay.
This one is 0, like pi over 6.
Radical 3 over 2.
Huh?
Sine 2 pi over 3 equal radical 3 over 2.
Radical 3 over 2. Radical 3 over 2 times 2. So it's the same as this one here, right?
Yeah. Minus 0.7.
Huh?
And negative 0.7 it will be.
0.7 here, negative 0.7. That's enough. We have 0 and 1. 0 and 1. It should be here, but 0 and 1, its position is the same as 0 and negative 1. Sorry? So the same as 0 and negative 1.
Yes.
Yeah, we have pi over 6 and 0. Pi over 6 and
0.
and 0. Where is it? Pi over 6 and 1. Should be pi over 6 and 0 here. Pi over 6 and 0. ماشي. What? Where is the table? Pi over 2 and negative 1. Pi over 2 and negative 1 here is this point. And pi over 6 and 0. Pi over 6 and 0. Here again. Okay? And pi, let's evaluate. Sine pi, 1 minus 2 sine pi. What is sine pi? Sine pi is negative 1. And the 0, 0, which is 1 minus sine pi, sine 180. Yeah, here is what? Negative 1 and 0. Yes, it's a 0, so it's 1 again. So you should, yes, it's 1 here. بس المفروض تكون هنا شايفة they are equal. They are the same, which is pi 1 and pi, or negative 1 and pi the same. The same as 1 and pi. So this is the graph. Is it correct for you? Let's check, guys, by using what your Christmas graphing calculator. Please.
Yes, Mr.
You see my screen? Yes, it's here.
Yeah.
طلع لك equation. In the equation, it's here 1 minus 2 sine theta. Okay, we want to turn back to our process.
Yes.
Well, you have to complete, guys, till to pi وكده when it's pi over 2 negative 1 and so on. This is a quick graph or informal graph instead of using this data. Example 4, r equals 4 sine 2 theta. So who can answer this question? Who can tell me, is it unison or demi-skate or rose or circle or line? Ahmed Faris. This one is what? R equals a sine n. When I say r equals a sine n theta. Yeah, this equation represents من الشكل بتاعتها على طول نعرف ان هي limit-skate or limison equations or rose or line or circle. But 2 theta here, n theta, n. So it's what? It's rose curve. It's rose curve. We have to check the symmetry for this equation. And we said that r equals 4 sine 2 theta. And replace the theta by negative theta to check here the symmetry about the polar axis. So the r equals 4, sine is odd function, so it's a negative sine 2 theta. So it's not symmetry about the polar axis. About the line theta equals pi over 2, we're going to replace r by negative r and replace the theta by negative theta. So it's negative r equals 4 sine negative 2 theta, negative 2 theta. So negative r equals, because it's an odd function, so it's going to give us negative 4 sine 2 theta. Okay. Divide by negative 1 gives r equals 4 sine 2 theta. And since it's equivalent to the original equation, so it's what?
Symmetric across the arch.
Symmetric about the line theta equals pi over 2. And success this test. About the first one, what? Fails. To be symmetry about the polar axis. About the ball, we said we have to replace what? Let's move back to the rules. About the ball here, we have to replace the r with negative r only and keep the theta the same. So let's do it here, guys. I'm gonna replace with me. We have to replace the r by negative r and keep the theta the same, sine to theta. Dividing by negative 1, dividing the whole
It will be r
equals
negative 4
4 sine
sine 2 theta.
theta. It's not symmetric, right?
Yes.
And then to graph this equation, let's graph by the our way. If we move back, guys, if we move back to my explanation for the last 2 days, when it's here rows function,
Rows. Yes.
curves, like 6 cosine 3 theta, like 4 sine theta. That 4 sine theta is a circle. It's what? Circle. That not rows, here are rows. For the rows, guys, I said when r equal a sine n theta or r equals a cosine n theta rows curves. And the steps
Yes.
here to graph your curve, your equation. A gives the length of the petals, and
And n.
number of petals, we can decide number of petals by determining n. N here, if it's even, like 2, 4, 6, 8, so we have 2n petals. And if n is odd, so we have only what? The same number as
The same number.
the value of n. Step 3, where the first petal starts, substitute a for r and then solve for theta. Number 4, rotate petals, divide 360 degrees by the value of n gives how many degrees we have to rotate my line. So let's move, guys, to our question. Is example 4. Here is it.
Yes.
طبعا مدينا تيبل وكده. طيب let's solve here by our way. First step,
A
equals this equation
equals 4.
r equals 4
4
sine
sine.
4 sine 2 theta.
So yes, A equal 4.
4.
2.
Okay, number 2, we have to find what
n
number of what
betas.
thetas.
N equal 2, so it's 4.
Huh?
Equal 4 because it's
Depends on
even.
the number of what n, and the n
Yes.
is 2, which is even. If I have 4 what thetas.
Beetles.
حلو. I have 4
Yes.
thetas, not twice n. And if n is 2, I have 4 thetas. If n
Yes.
is 5, I have 5
5.
thetas. If n is 10, I have 20 thetas for this rows. Okay. Number 3, we have to
3
find where the first
beetles.
theta what to start.
Substitute A with R, so it will be 4 equal 4.
نعم, we said substitute
will be, yes.
A for R. How, Mr.?
Yes. 4 equal 4 sine 2 theta.
أيوة. A is 4. يبقى بدل ال R also substitute 4 for R equals 4 what? Sine 2
theta.
theta. Dividing
Equal
by 4. Excellent. محمد سباعي. تابع معاه ممتاز. Dividing by 4, we have 1 equals
sine 2 theta.
Sine 2 theta. Okay, guys, wake up, please, and participate. Yes, and then hide the 2 theta. Imagine that we hide the 2 theta.
Yes, and sine inverse of 1.
I would like something to hide here. If I put here the eraser, I can hide the 2 theta and say sine what angle gives 1? Sine what angle gives 1? I think 90.
Sine
90 صح. فأكيد 5 over 2 equals 2 theta. يعني imagine that you have sine theta first equals 1. Inverse sine of 1 gives it a 90 or pi over
90 pi over 2.
And then you have to equate to theta by مش عندك theta بس انت عندك 2 theta equals pi over 2 and then now theta is pi over 4.
Yes.
By dividing طبعا by 2 each side. So theta only is what?
Pi over 4.
Attention. It's important. The theta here is pi over
4.
2. قصدي pi over 4. طيب. This is theta.
The fourth
This is the
step
first
now.
part we have to start. So always from 0, 0.
No, before, Mr. We have 360 divide.
I know we still have one more step, but I will start from what? Pi over 4. And which circle? the fourth
The fourth circle.
circle, right? We make here a line.
4. Yes.
Yes, here is the first circle, the second circle, the third circle, the fourth circle, till here, right?
Yes.
And I have 4 petals and آخر step بقى اللي هو the next line, number 4 أو the fourth step to find the rotation. After the إيه هنعمل rotate. I'm gonna divide 360 degrees by n,
44.
by 2, by n, by n.
Oh yeah.
Okay, equals 360 over n, which we said over n, which is 180. Yeah, move back.
Yes.
What we said, Muhammad, we said that we have to divide, see here, rotate the tilts, 360 divided by n, by 2 only.
N.
Because n
Mister, by the number of petals.
is 4, twice the 2, twice the n.
Yeah, it's 4, Mister. Number of petals, not n. Divide by 4.
Dividing by number of petals.
Yes, because there's 4 petals. They have to move equally.
Dividing by 2n, yes. Dividing by 2n.
Yes, Mister.
Right.
180 will
dividing
be
by
2
4, you
circles.
are right.
Will be 90. 90.
Okay,
Yes.
you are right. Dividing by number of petals. Right. Your formula is 360. It's pi over 2n. It's pi over 2n. Or 360 over n. Yes. Yes, are you sure, guys? The rule we wrote before, it's 360 over n. Or you have another rule, ممكن تلاقيها, it's pi over 2n. Yes, which is 180 over 4. It's pi over, yes, pi over 2n. Let me make sure of this part. Just give me only one. The rows, right? Yeah, 360 divided by 4. You are right. 360 divided by why 4? Because n is 4. 360 divided by n.
Yes.
By 2n, by 2n. Yes, dividing, and we are correct now. You are right. يعني dividing by 4, يبقى forget this. صحيح. يبقى 360 divided by 2n. Sorry. يلا. Next part. غير الكلر تاني، يعني شايفين من هذا اللاين and we have to move 90. So pi over 4 plus pi over 2 or plus 90 gives what? Pi over 2 plus pi over 4.
135.
Yes, it's 2 pi over 8 plus 4 pi over 8. It's 12 pi over 8, which is 5 pi over 3 pi over 4, right? 12 pi over 8 and dividing by 4 is 3 pi over 2. Is it correct? Let's see, here it's 2 and here 8. Sorry, and here 4 and here what? And here 8. So, sorry, it's 8 over, it's sorry, 6 over, yes, dividing it's 2, it's 3, yeah, correct, 3 over 4. 3 pi over 4. Here, this one is clear. We have to move to the fourth circle. 1, 2, 3, 4, and take a point. This is the second line. If we measure here the angle, it's going to be what? 90 degrees. More 90 degrees for 3 pi over 4. يعني adding pi over 2. Okay, adding more 90 degrees or pi over 2 to 3 pi over 4 equals
5 pi over
5
4.
pi over 4. 5 pi over 4 is here. Stop to the object point to the fourth circle, because A is 4, and adding more 90 degrees to 5 pi over 4.
7 pi over 4.
7 pi over 4. In here, and here 7 pi over 4. This is a point, and then move to the center of the pole, like this. Okay. And then draw your what petals counterclockwise. Yes, I'm gonna start from here, guys, and move. Okay. Here's the first one, first letter, right?
Metal, yes.
like this counter فلو كله ماشي يعني هي كده مش هتبان مش ازاي بس يعني انت الافضل تمشي كده you have a graphic calculator that here graphic calculator its direction like this you return it back to the origin 0 0. Okay, so this is example 4. Yeah, you have to choose your easier way either by using this table or by using these steps. So this is one example of to graph the rose curve. In this page, we have rose curves written in this form A sine n theta or A n sine theta, the same thing. When it's a 3, we have 3 petals, and when it's a 4, we have double 4, which is 8. When it's 5, stay the same 5 petals, and petals means this leaf. Okay? And the distance here, guys, is the value of A when it's a sine. When it's a sine, so no problem, your petals will be in this position, or this figure, or this shape. When it's a cosine, one of them will lie on the x-axis. When it's a sine, بتكون على y-axis. Let's solve this example. Checkpoint 4 لو كان homework. Let me ask مثلا, would like to solve, guys. About that.
Okay, Mister. First of all, it's a petal, the same one. A equals 3 first. Can I solve my own way? Do you want to solve it by symmetry?
1 minute, please.
Okay, okay.
I'm gonna cancel this table, no need, right? And this one.
Yes, yes, better, Mister.
And bring this one in the middle, right? This. And here are our steps. And
Okay, first of all, A equals 3,
على checkpoint 4.
4.
Here is it. Yes.
Yeah, A equals 3. A equals to 3. 3.
First of all, right, it's rows. Why rows?
Yeah, it's rows. Because,
N.
yes. Okay, A equals 3 first.
N equals 2.
N equals 2, so it's even, so the petals are 4.
It's even. Excellent. So
4
number of
petals.
what?
Petals are 4.
Petals is what? 4.
4.
Is directly the number of N.
Yes.
Okay. So
Okay, now we'll put
Sine of
3
cosine.
equal first cosine. It's cosine,
Sine.
so
So we are in what?
no, yeah, cosine. X-axis.
Yes.
Okay. We put 3 equals 3 cosine 2 pi. 2
First
theta, I mean.
First position of the first petal.
Petal, yeah. First you have to put 3 equals 3 cosine 2 theta.
What?
3 equals 3 cosine 2 theta.
Oh, replace here the R by
The R is A, yeah.
equals to 3. Replace the R also by the value of A. 3
Yes.
equals to 3 cosine
2 theta. Remove the 3, divide it on both sides. It will be yes, cosine 2 pi. So just take cosine minus 1, 1. Inverse of cosine 1.
Here, guys, I'll hide the 2 theta. Hide here, the
Yes.
finger here, and hide the 2 theta. If we hide the 2 theta and ask what angle its cosine is 1, or what angle like this, inverse cosine in the calculator gives 1. 0.
0, yes, or 2 pi.
We will start
So
by
0.
This is the first position of the first.
Yes. Then 0 equals 2 theta, theta equals 0.
Rotate of the first petal
360 over 4.
360 degrees over
4 petals.
4.
Yes,
2n.
equals 90.
2n. The rule, guys, 360, the rule of this step, 360 degrees, this all over 2n. Yes?
Okay, equals 90 degrees.
4 gives what?
90. Pi over 2.
It's 4. So I'm going to highlight all important information we need to graph this. Mr. 0 or 2 pi for only what? Still 0 also, but هنا نزود
0,
معاك.
yes.
When you find theta is 0, so 2 theta should equal to 0, and also theta is what?
Yeah, I told you this.
Yeah, you should divide by 2.
The one right
Yes.
after, yes.
Okay, now graphing. First point is 3 and 0 degrees.
Yes, let's move on to the graph. Yes, change the color to black. Yeah.
Okay, 3 and 0 degrees. So it will be on the third circle and 0 degrees. So on the x-axis.
A is a 3, right?
Yes.
So 1, 2, 3, and put here a point. Draw a
Yes.
line.
Yes.
Also, we have to start our first video in 0 degrees, like this.
Yes. Then move 90%, rotate 90% counterclockwise.
You have to move 90 degrees. So it's gonna be here.
Yes. Third circle. No, the one above it, mister. Third
And
circle.
A3, base 3.
No, third circle, mister. One more up. You have to go. You went 3 up.
1, 2, yes, I have to go.
Yeah, 3. You have to go 3, exactly.
And this one, yes.
Yes.
We go to the third circle. This is the first, and here's the second, and the third circle.
Yes,
Third
exactly.
circle, here's 1, 2,
This is
and
cosine,
here
this is
three.
Third
sine.
circle.
And connect the line like this. And 1, 2, 3 down. Right? How many petals?
Yes. 4 petals.
And
How many petals? 4, right? So here's
Yes.
1, and here's 2, and here's 3, and here's what? 4. So
4.
that's
Yes, exactly.
yes.
yeah.
Okay, just
I have to move from the
Counterclockwise.
0, 0,
From 0.
the pole. You have to
Yes.
move like this counterclockwise.
And both sides equally.
Hmm?
Both sides should be equal. Like the petal. Yes, exactly.
Counterclockwise. طبعا the right width of each petal not the same. Sorry, but it's an informal graph and it's acceptable. Okay, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Mr. Saeed Ali Bil.
Mirror.
Hold 1, here's the center. I moved like this, guys. Counterclockwise, so then move down. ماشي لازم تمشي كله counterclockwise. And then like this. You have to come back again to the origin, 0, 0 or the pole. Yes, here. Like this. Thank you. The distance here should be what, guys? Should be 3. Why? Because A is 3. The distance, the angle between each line and the next line of each rows, each petal, and the next one is 90 degrees. Any question? Is it clear?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Any questions, Shabab? We are 25. All of you agreed that it's easy. This checkpoint number 4. Checkpoint number 4. How to grab the polar equation, R equals 3 cosine 2 theta. Okay. Let's move on, guys, to graphing R squared equals 4 sine 2 theta. Yes. No need. خلاص. We will work, guys, by our regular way. Let's move, guys, to when we have R squared, what kind of equations we have? R squared equals A squared sine 2 theta. R squared equals A cosine 2 theta. And this kind of equation, polar equation, is called Lemniscate's curves. Lemniscate's curves. Okay, in the Lemniscate's curves, it's symmetric about the pole for sine and symmetric for the three tests, pole and polar axis, and the line theta equals pi over 2. And the diagram, when it's a sine, it's symmetric about the pole. So, you know the equation y equals x. Here's the line, now passes through the center, 0, 0 or the pole, and the distance is a only. When it's a cosine, it's like infinity and symmetric about the origin or the pole and polar axis and the line, or the y-axis also, or the line theta equals pi over 2. So let's move quickly to our question. Question number 5. Here's it. Who can help me guys solve this question? If I ask Yusuf تامر ما سمعش بقالنا كتير. How to solve this question, Mr. Yusuf? R squared equals 4 sine 2 theta.
Yes, Master.
Yes, what's the value of A?
A is 4.
No, A squared is 4, and then A is,
Okay.
is 2.
2. Yes. Yes, sir.
Listen carefully. For the limit case, the graphs of R squared equals A squared
A
sine
squared.
2 theta,
Yes, yes.
or R squared equals A squared cosine theta.
Yes, yes. Okay.
The first for sine, that's why. ترد علينا ليه يا مستر؟ And you have Snapchat وعيش حياتك.
والله يا مستر هم اللي بيبعتوا، انا ماليش دعوه. هم اللي بيبعتوا والله. عامل له ميوت خالص ثانيه. يا مستر بعدين.
Okay, R squared
سؤال بقى تاني.
equals A squared cosine 2 theta is symmetric about the pole and the polar قلنا. وهنا ال A that's it. It's graphic كده يوسف. So A is 2 not 4.
Yes.
And make sure بس يا شباب ان it's 2 not other number. Okay?
Yes.
Yes, I would like to bring only the graph. Lovely graph here. Yes. Here is it. Example 5, right? Yes, example 5. It's better, guys, to use this standard graph. It's easier for all. The first step is to decide an x-axis or y-axis.
The y-axis.
Because it's decided, so we are no, not y, not x. We are on the line. We are on the line.
The origin.
Yes, symmetric about the origin of the pole 0 0. بس أي angle هنا I'm gonna use pi over 4 or pi over 6 or pi over 3. How to know? How to know? Here's the graph. He moved on pi over 4. Okay? He moved on what? Pi over 4.
Pi over 4. Yes.
So, yeah, no explanation about this, guys, but you have to draw a line here. Draw the pi over 4.
Okay.
Where is it? Yes, pi over 4. We move pi over 4.
And 5 pi over 4.
يلا طيب الديستنس اللي انا همشيها على اللاين هذا what is according to the value of
2.
of A. So
A, yes, it's 2.
2 circles. 1, 2.
Yes,
This is the
1
first
and
circle. Here's the second circle. In the other direction,
negative 2. Yes.
Negative 2 and pi over 4 or 5 pi over 4. And then draw what?
A circle or a rose.
A rose يعني كده like infinity. Draw your graph like infinity. And all of us know infinity. Here's the graph.
Yes.
Yes, the graph R squared for 0 to 2 pi. R is more than 0. I'm using the symmetry with respect to the pole and the graph the other part here because it's symmetric about the pole. فبنستغل البوينت مع graph to the other part. Yes.
Mister, I have a question.
Yes.
It always moves, if it's signed, always moves pi over 4, the degree pi over 4,
Yes.
every time, okay.
Because the angle is still 2 theta. Are moving 2 according to the value. And pi over 4. And you can يعني find more points. تقدر تجيب pi over 6, pi over 4, pi over 3 وتستخدم ال symmetry to find the other points. For example, let's solve here. Is it because it's a cosine, so it's a symmetric, guys, of the pole, of the line, and of the polar axis. Let's try. Let's test here the symmetry of this equation. R squared equals 4 cosine. Yes, and replacing the theta for the polar axis diamond test, symmetry test, we have to replace the theta by negative theta. So we have 4 cosine replacing the theta by negative. So it's gonna be 2 times negative theta. So theta equals negative theta. then r squared equals 4. Cosine is always
Sine 2
constant,
theta.
so it stays the same. So it's equivalent and symmetric about the polar axis, since they are equivalent equation. Okay. Next one, to check to test the symmetry of the line theta equals pi over 2, I have to replace the r by negative r and replace the theta by negative theta. Replace the r by negative r and substitute theta equals negative theta in the equation above here. So negative r all squared equals 4 cosine negative 2 theta. Squaring gives what? R squared, 4 cosine, because it's even, it is, yeah, so it's equivalent and it's symmetrical as plus. About the pole, we replace only the r by negative r, so we have cosine 2 theta. The right hand side stays the same, but the left hand side becomes r squared, so it's also what? Symmetric about the pole. You can, guys, use your calculator and pick some points like 0, pi over 6, pi over 3, pi over 2. So I'm going to take only the 0, pi over 6, pi over 3, and it's important to pi over 4. So we have 0, 0, and the value of a in this equation, the value of a is what, guys? It's 4. Yeah, and we said for cosine, we have to move like this, 4 into a. So I'm going to move 1, 2, 3, 4, and put points, and in the other direction 4. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, negative, yes, 4.
Negative 4. Okay, and then move counterclockwise. وانت تقدر تاخد كذا point.
And infinity.
It's infinity, like infinity.
Yes.
طبعا it should be like this, right? Okay.
Yes.
And you can use your graphic, Desmos graphing calculator to check your answer. Thank you. And your homework, guys, will be question number.
مستر مش ضروري اليوم هم مسامح اليوم.
What?
مسامح اليوم مستر.
We have number 3. خلينا ناخذ من number هنا. Question 126. Okay, select the polar equation for each graph. It's easy, right? From
1 to
6.
6.
You just say that question 1, write the equation next to each graph. Okay? And write your name above the answers and send the answer PDF to my WhatsApp. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Okay, Mr. Thank you.
مع السلامة.